Welcome to Unlock Your Child's Full Potential. I'm Billy, mom of three, positive parenting coach, and your guide to raising kids with connection, not control. Here we talk about parenting without punishments and constant power struggles, building deep bonds, and creating a home where kids want to listen, so you can enjoy family life to the fullest. Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today's episode is a bit different, and I think in the best way possible. We're diving into a more spiritual conversation with Kanika Vasudeva, an Akashic Records reader and energy coach. Kanika invites us to consider that our children aren't just ours to raise, but souls on their own journey. That the challenges they face, and even the way they trigger us, might all have a deeper purpose. And our job is not to fix them, but to hold space for them, to see them, to believe in their path, even when it's hard to understand. We talk about how our kids mirror the parts of ourselves that still need healing and how doing that inner work, looking at what their behavior brings up in us, is one of the most powerful gifts we can give them. This conversation is tender, thought-provoking, and full of gentle truths. Let's get into it. Hi, Kanika. Welcome to the show. This episode is a bit different from what we usually explore on this podcast, and I'm really intrigued. It's new territory for me personally, but I have a feeling it will speak to a lot of our listeners.
Thank you so much, Billy. I'm so glad to be here.
Let's start with a little introduction. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to the work you're doing right now?
Well, I am Kanika. I am an Akashic Records reader and an energy coach. And how I explain the work that I do is that literally everything around us is energy. And I help shift that energy so that whatever you're experiencing in the reality outside, that changes for you. So, my sweet spot, what I absolutely love to do is just helping parents. And I find parents who have some parenting troubles, obviously, like there might be some emotional thing that's going on with their child. They might be in very conflicting situations with their co parent, sometimes with extended families. So I help heal that energy. The beautiful stuff with this is that we don't need to talk to the other person. So we don't need to talk to the child. We don't need to talk to the dad or the mom, the other parent. We don't need to really talk to the extended family members. All that we're doing is just simply healing the energy there, and you start seeing the difference in real life. Because a lot of times, the channel that we have, so let me give an example, right? So, like you and I are talking right now, and yes, we have a connection through a computer right now, but also in general, it's our perception of each other. There might be times where we have a karmic lifetime with someone. So, you might notice that the people you just instantly like, the people you just instantly dislike, the people we keep going back and forth. We just have a funny dynamic with them. Like with everyone else, you're okay, you're more sorted. But there's this one person where just something is a little off and you don't quite know. And that's just energy. So, karmic patterns is just one example of the stuff that sort of can entangle energy. We feel it, we know it at some level, something's wrong. We just don't always know in the human body what to do. And that's where I come in, sort of like the energy doctor.
I love that.
And I just pick out, okay, this is the karmic pattern, this is what's coming up here. So we'll pull that apart. There might be sometimes past life stuff that comes in, which is affecting how we operate. There might be family patterns that come in, which affect a few things that affect our reality. So it's just pulling out those pieces, it's seeing literally what all is acting in between that relationship. And I just take all of that out. So when that interference is taken out, the channel is very clear. So, like the channel between you and me for communication will look really clear if there's no energy interference in between. But when we have energetic interference, it's like when you tune in on the radio and there's like noise in the background. How we feel it in our day to day life is we feel it in terms of fights or drama, or you feel like, well, that was something simple. I don't know why someone's reacting like that. It's that stuff that we know something's wrong, but you don't quite know what, but it's all off. So I take all that noise and confusion out. That's my
And
job.
What about when we are reactive with our kids? For example, we were raised with a lot of fear, punishment, and emotional disconnection, and then we want to parent differently, and then old patterns sneak back in. So, is that the same thing you're talking about, like from
Yeah.
our generational? I'm not sure if that's trauma or but just patterns, intergenerational patterns.
It is both, a mix of both usually, because when we are having those automatic responses, like let's say if someone was raised in a family where it's more like tough love, you just do this and you get on with it and so on. So they've never really known how to handle emotions, how to handle feelings, because they were never dealt with like that, right? Like so it's so out of boundaries. You've just never learned that. You've never had that for yourself. And then I will often find that those parents, when their child is crying, oh, it's very hard because they just don't know how to deal with the emotions. The first thing I ask is, well, yes, your child is triggering you. And yes, whatever you're saying, because on paper, it definitely sounds like, yes, it's a troublesome thing. But it's rare that I find that the other person, the other parent, the other family, the child is a problem because they're simply mirrors to what we hold inside. And when we heal that part in ourselves, then we start operating differently. So when our child is crying and we feel like, oh, I can't do that, I can't handle it, I want to run away from the room, it's more because the child is saying, well, see me when I'm crying. And I was never seen. You were never seen when you were crying as a little person. So it's very hard. So, first, you have to heal that part. You have to heal that part where you did not feel seen as a little child. And then you can come up with the compassion and you can do that with your child. But a good trick that I give parents here is it's okay, we're human beings. And of course, none of us, including me, like it's not that I'm absolutely perfect and all my parts are healed and my child's not going to show me anything. It just does not work like that. But it's okay to be a work in progress and it's okay to just be aware. So, a lot of times, if I feel what I advise also my clients to do as well is when we feel that a child is triggering us, just ask the question that yes, the child's triggering you. What is the possibility that they're perhaps mirroring? Because it's almost the opposite in you, whatever you're trying to hide, they're perfect mirrors. What is the part in you that they're triggering? Where do you want to be seen, heard, or held? And then acknowledge that part while you deal that with your child. A good hack is you just think of yourself at the same time. Like you could imagine a little version of you while you're talking to your child, and you could just give that little version the same love, the same compassion that your little version wants. So while you're healing your child, it's a very good opportunity to also heal yourself at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and it's the best gift that we can give to our kids to heal ourselves. And you mentioned Akashic Records. For some people, that might be an unfamiliar term. Would you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So Akashic Records are our soul's library. Everything and anything that's happened with us. And now let me take a step back and also talk about the soul. So we have this lifetime, the lifetime where you see me as Kanika and I'm seeing you and we're talking right now, right? Like this is one physical body. The soul actually has perhaps thousands of these lives, stuff that we are not connected to. Like I'm Kanika right now, but I might be something else. I might be a person, I might be a non person, a plant, a horse, anything. I could be in other galaxies as well. And that all comprises my soul. Let's explain it this way. Think of an apple and break it down into like 2,000 slices, because that's perhaps how many lifetimes you have. And then when we look at just one lifetime, that's like one very tiny thin slice of that whole apple. So you see how that is just one very little part of the whole soul's story. Now, the whole soul, why it's going out and why it's doing all the other experiments and why it's doing all the other lifetimes, because it just wants to have fun. So it wants to see what life is like a dolphin, or maybe whatever challenges that you're having here. It wants to experience sometimes more love, lack of love, because it wants to see what is that like. Kind of like How we go out and try different cuisines, or we go out and try different movies. It's the same thing. The soul just wants to learn. So, as the apple, it just wants to have a whole lot of knowledge. Nothing is right, wrong. It's just experiencing, it's just exploring. Like, this is what life is, this is what consciousness is, right? Like, it's just doing that. So, when I tap into the Akashic record, I'm not looking at just a slice, I'm looking at the whole apple. I'm looking at a lot more information. So it then pieces the whole puzzle together. It's almost like when we are on Earth and we just try and see things from an Earth perspective, it's a very limited view. Like when you are stuck in a traffic jam, let's say if you are right in the middle of it, you are in your car in a traffic jam, you know that yes, everything is stuck, things are not moving, but you don't quite know why. You don't know what accident happened. Like you could guess, but you don't know, right? But imagine if you were to fly above and then you were able to see everything from up above and you could see what is happening on the highway, you could see what is happening on the roads around it. You actually get a much bigger story. So, similarly, when we go to the Akashic records, because we're not doing one lifetime, we're doing all these lifetimes, we're just getting the whole story. So, you understand the pieces of why things are the way they are. And then you start understanding, okay, nothing's really right or wrong. I'm just doing it because of this. This is a lesson that I need to learn. And then the other beautiful thing is because you start understanding that, you start understanding the interferences that you had from the other lifetime. So if you want to clear up something, Akashic Records is the best way to do it because you're not clearing it just at this level. You're clearing it in the whole apple level. So if you could think of energetic ties or web in a whole apple, and your little slice is getting impacted by everything around it, now you've cleared it at this whole apple level. So the whole apple is healed or getting a bigger healing. So the impact can be a lot more dramatic. Maybe I'll break it down with other examples because that will help.
I'm just wondering, how do we do that? Like, how do we heal our slice of apple and then a whole apple? Like, it's
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
out
And I'll
there.
tell totally, totally. And that's why I try and bring all these examples and stories just to clarify it more. So let me give you one client example, right? I looked at one lady, what she's experiencing in this lifetime is she's just having multiple female issues. Like she was just having sometimes some fungal infections. She would treat that, then she would get some bacterial infections. And it was she just did not feel very comfortable talking about that again and again because it was always the vaginal infections. Like, it just felt very intimate, but also not being able to break out of it. But she would go from one to the other one to the other. It was just a constant cycle, which is why she came to me. She's like, well, I have a pattern going on here. Don't really understand what's happening, and I'm just tired of it. So let's try this. And when I looked at her, I saw her past lifetime, the first past lifetime, because I always go with what is the root cause, right? So when you erase the root cause, that is where all that energy or that web, like that is where everything holds together. It's like the glue that holds everything together. When you can start clearing from the place, which is the root cause, then everything else just falls away. It is literally like glue. And let's say if you have glue and then you're putting all the things on it, then everything sticks on because of the glue. When you take that glue away, everything just falls off. So that's sort of the detective job. It's simple because that's the intention I go in with. And when I looked at it, I saw one of her lifetimes in the 1800s. And she is on the birthing table, like she's in a room. That time, of course, it was home birth, and she's lying on the bed and she's trying to push the baby out. And she's good, she's healthy as a mom. The baby is healthy as well. And I mean healthy as in like decent weight, how the baby would be. And she's also like that. But as she's pushing the baby out, and they didn't have as much medical science advancement at that point in time, so she's trying to push, and they're all trying to help her, but they don't really know. There's just a whole lot of blood loss, and it takes very long. Of course, it's painful, but the real painful part with that is because by the time she pushes the baby out, the baby's not there. The baby's passed away. So there's a couple of trauma that her soul took with that. Because one, the soul went like, well, okay, like childbirth, traumatic. When I try childbirth, it's very hard for me. Like it just equals death. So we're not going there, right? Like there's a wounding right then and there. And then the other wounding that she was feeling was because she had to rely on others and it almost took away her own sense of authority or her own power. And that's what her soul wanted her to learn, was just to have your own power. Like our soul, we're all born from the divine spark, from the divine source. We all come from one part. And if that part's divine, we're all divine. So her soul also wanted her to be in her own divinity, be empowered. Like, hey, you don't need to just give up yourself, give up your agency, still be empowered, even at that place. Like it wanted her actually to just reconnect, because I saw that in the lifetime. Like we also healed that bit with that lady in that 1800 was feeling really helpless, really powerless. So when we looked at that version, it was more like if she could have channeled into her own feminine power, into her own divine feminine, tuned into her body, then her body knew more what to do rather than giving her control away to the people who were around her. And this is what she was carrying in this lifetime as well, which is why she was having those infections again and again, because her soul still wanted her to graduate from that lesson and go like, hey, channel in your own healing energy. Like it's okay, you're going out to the medical world and you're really relying on them, but bring in your own agency here as well again. I'll just make a very quick disclaimer. I'm never saying that people don't see medical professionals or so on. Not saying that. I'm just saying that also just remember your body's agency in it. Like, by all means, go out, consult the medical professionals, do what you have to do. But just remember that your body also has its own power of healing. But coming back to the story, when I told my client this, the other thing that she told me, she's like, well, now I understand why I don't even want to think about having a child. Because what had happened was that time she'd lost a child. So she just did not even want to try it. So we cleared that energy. And then it's all okay because you've just taken all that web away, those energetic ties. You've just taken all those blocks away. It's a massive clearing, a massive healing just from one session.
And is that through meditation or just shining awareness around the topic helps the healing? So I'm wondering what the process is.
Yeah. So what happens in the Akashic Records reading is like I'm channeling and my intention is, okay, what is the root cause? By the way, I never have a prepared script. Like my job literally is just to be the channel and then everything comes, everything happens. I am not doing any of it. Like I'm there in the body, I'm just allowing things to happen. So that's my intention. That's the space that I hold, that what is the root cause, and we just want to clear the root cause away. So after that, it's almost more like, what are they doing? And I'm just allowing. There's a little bit of a process that I have in terms of space holding and allowing all of that to happen. But mostly, whatever happens is just so magical. I'm just relaying everything. And the clients will tell me, oh, yeah, I was feeling the tingling here, or I was feeling something here at the back, and so on. Because the energy that is being transformed, we're just bringing in those light beings to help do all that work.
Okay,
And
I
I'm
get it.
just a channel and the space holder for that.
Let's tie this
Yeah.
back to parenting. Like, how can parents benefit from all that knowledge that you shared? How can it help being a better parent and raising confident and resilient kids?
Yeah, so I think for parents, perhaps the first place to start with is that your kids and everyone around you, they're showing you what is the part that needs to be healed in you. They're showing you the parts that are healed as well. They're showing you the parts that need to be healed as well. So, first of all, it's just that awareness. And you can also do this at your home as well. I have actually a soul parenting journey, a 3-part audio series. If anyone's interested, I can share that link where I guide through very small, quick 5-minute, 10-minute meditation. So anyone can do, even if you're in the middle of a pickup, like any parent can find that time. very gentle, very easy, that actually takes them on this journey. First of all, to understand why your child is there with you. Like when you start with that picture, it already clears a whole lot of things because we choose our kids and our kids choose us. It is a sacred relationship and it's bigger than what we see in the body. So, in the body, there might be different challenges that we have with a child. It could be some eating challenge, it could be some learning challenge, and then there could also be so called kids who are special or who don't fit our society's norms. So, understanding why do we have them, understanding what is the bigger role here, because often we are seeing it with very human eyes and we actually label it more so than what it is. And then, often, especially for kids, if there is some apparent lack somewhere, parents can stress out a lot. Like, I don't know if my child's going to be okay, or so on. But whenever I tune in for that, I always see that the kids are okay. Like, there is a divine plan. So, if we just understand that whole chain, of like why the soul is there, why it is for what it is, then it just gives a whole lot of relief to the parent. Because sometimes, especially for these times, whatever lack we feel in human eyes, they're just wanting to learn. They're just wanting to go through that experience because it evolves their soul in a different way and actually ties to that purpose of what they're going to do in the lifetime. So, in our human limited understanding, we might say this is off, but it's just not the full picture. So, that's, I think, the first belief, to understand that everything as it is okay. Your job as a parent is really not to fix, not to heal. You can just take a step back, you can just allow. Your job really is just to see the parts in you that are being triggered and allow your child to present themselves and be seen, be heard, be held, like all the things that you want for yourself. Like just see where are you getting triggered and allow yourself to really offer them that complete space, because you're healing yourself in between. And your job is literally just to be that provider, just to be that space holder. We overestimate ourselves, we overestimate our job. It is not our job. And try as you wish, there's nothing we can control. In life anyway, but we think that as parents we are superheroes and we can. But no, you cannot control what's meant to be. You just can't.
That's both a relief, like I'm not messing up my child that much because that's their journey. And then we like to have some influence on the way our kids be, the people they grow up to be. So that's why I'm focused on positive parenting, like how to be that safe space for them and yet teach them some life skills that they're going to need. And I'm like, if it's set up before that, what is my role here? Like you said, just being there for them, holding space. But it's a little unsettling.
It's a great question, you know. It is a great question because it's a very hard thing to be, and still you want to do the right things for your child. You want to support them on their purpose. So I think first begin with what is it that your child needs? What is their unique purpose? Why did they come in here? Which is why I have the freebie, and they can do that. And then the other thing that you would do once you understand that purpose, all you've got to keep asking is, how do I show up for that? The kids who have, I'll give you a client example where they came in because their child had speech issues and they were getting not just speech, but also comprehension issues because they were being called by the school. And it was more like, well, the child's lagging behind, the child's not understanding, and so on, so which can be very stressful for any parent. Like, what am I supposed to do now? And how do I fix this? How do I help my child?
Right.
Especially because the messages that we get are not always considering this picture. And then when I did a session with them and I very clearly saw the child, growing up later on and clearly like being very eloquent, really speaking out, actually sharing his message very wide in the world as well. And then I was like, well, okay, if this is the future timeline, then why is it not like this? And why is the child really undergoing all of this right now? It turns out the child just had to learn a lot more emotional balance. There were things that he'd done in the previous lifetimes where, like, he was a king, he was a warrior, so he'd just gone on wars, he just like conquered, which is a great thing, but he'd also caused a lot of destruction in families. So there was emotional balance, there was emotional understanding that he had to learn, which is what he was learning now. And so at the outset, it feels like, it's not okay. The child's lacking something. But when you feel a little bit deeper, you understand, well, this is why the child's doing, but also it's not negative as much as it feels like, hey, the child's lacking, or why does a child have to struggle? Because it's teaching him sympathy. It's teaching him how to connect with people who don't have as much, whether that is in terms of wealth, whether that is in terms of some other ability that they don't have. Because this child's true purpose was that he wanted to really go out and spread big messages in the world, healing messages, like sort of graduating from the previous lifetime, but just coming to this place where he was spreading more love and awareness. But once you understand that, that anxiety of, okay, how do I fix my child, that's taken away, because it's like, okay, this is what's happening. And it's more like, okay, what is my child's purpose now? What do I do? All right, so he needs to understand more empathy. And this is what was happening with the child, because he was not able to express his emotions, he was not able to speak them. They were always coming out in terms of anger or in terms of just withdrawing himself. So then when the parent understands that story, they understand, okay, they've just got to help them more in terms of their emotional work. They're helping the child have more understanding of emotions. They're also healing their own part, by the way. This was also the story with the parents. They both came from baby boomer families, families where it was, well, adults told you what to do and you do that. And there's almost not as much space for your thoughts, your feelings. You just sort of go along with the flow. So they were also healing that own part inside. So whether you are understanding your child's purpose or not, even if you don't have that awareness, know that everything is working on the divine path. Like as a parent, you don't have to do much. If you do want to give yourself the steps to do, look at where does your child trigger you, and allow yourself to feel a lot more relieved and okay with that. Because where is your ego coming in between? Like, what is it that you're going away from? Why do you want to fix it? Like, what is it in you that you want to fix? Where's that ego? We say we are doing it for the child, but really you're not. You're doing it for you because there's a part of you that would feel better if you fixed your child, because then you have a perfect child or a more
Right.
perfect child.
And
So
we'll be the
look,
perfect parent who has the perfect child, and that's a reflection on us. So yeah, I think so
yeah.
too.
So go back to yourself and just take off that ego and go to the place where and how do I help my child on their purpose? Simple way, just whatever, wherever they trigger you, allow yourself to be a lot more calm. Think of it also this way, that your child is learning energy balance, emotional balance, all the life skills from you by observing you. So the more you're raising yourself and coming from a place of consciousness or centeredness, your child's automatically picking it up. When we pass down the programs that we've learned from our parents, like maybe our parents gave us tough love. They never taught us that. They did that. And it's so automatically wired in us that we come to it, right? We don't have to teach our kids the good thing. We just have to be that. We just have to heal that, and they'll automatically pick it up.
Yeah, I agree. The process always starts with us. And that's a perfect way to wrap this up. This was, by the way, a very insightful conversation. I learned so much. But please tell our listeners where they can further connect with you and find the freebies that you were talking about.
Yeah, so thanks so much. I can be reached at Kanika Energy Coach on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to hear from parents, just understand their stories as well. What is it that they're struggling with? Because it is truly my deepest passion. I think that when I help parents, I help their kids, I help families around, it just helps us have a much better place on earth. We are healing generations around us. So it's just something that I am very, very grateful for, very, very humbled to be of service. My freebie, I'll put the link in the show notes, but it can also be found at artoflifecenter.com/parent. That is CENTER, artoflifecenter.com/parent. And once they sign up, they just get this 3-part audio series in their mailbox. Very easy, simple to do, helps them connect with their child's soul purpose, helps them connect with their karma, release those karmas as well, which is very important, and just start taking those massive step forwards, because that already is very enlightening around their parenting journey.
I hope this conversation left you feeling a little more grounded and maybe even a little more open to the idea that your child's journey is unfolding exactly as it should. There is something incredibly freeing about letting go of the need to fix and instead learning to hold space for our kids and for ourselves. As Kanika reminded us, our children are mirrors. And when we take the time to look inward and heal, they feel that. We don't have to be perfect, we just have to be willing. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you shared it with a friend who might need this message too. And don't forget to check the show notes for the link to Kanika's free audio series. It's a beautiful resource to explore your child's soul purpose and begin that healing journey. Thanks so much for being here. See you next time.